Welcome to the 1 in 50 podcast from the Brain Aneurysm Foundation. I'm your host, Christine Buckley. 1 in 50 is the number of people living with an unruptured aneurysm, which is equal to 6.8 million people in the United States. A rupture occurs every 18 minutes, and tragically, half the people who rupture will die. These statistics need to change. The Foundation's goal is big but critical: to create a world free of death and disability from brain aneurysms. Let's reach those unaware of the danger, because awareness can save lives and prevent tragedy. Knowing the signs and symptoms of brain aneurysms can be the difference between life and death. All right. I want to welcome everyone to the 1 in 50 podcast. And really excited to have CEO of Kendra Scott, Tom Nolan, join us today and just share a little bit about his connection to the disease and just discuss why, coming together, talking about this, having different people share this information is really important for the 1 in 50 who are walking around who are impacted by this disease. So first of all, welcome, Tom.
Thanks for having me, Christine.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And also, I just want to say thanks so much to the great company you're a part of, Kendra Scott, and their Give Back program. The foundation has been fortunate to partner a couple times on that, and it's been really successful. And, again, people love to buy something and to be able to give back and share those gifts. So thank you for bringing that to the foundation. It's been great.
Yeah, of course, our company does a lot to give back, and this one has a special personal connection to me, as you know, so happy to help.
Yeah, excellent. So can you just tell us how you became connected with the disease, please?
Yeah, unfortunately, in 2009, my sister, who was 23 years old at the time, had a brain aneurysm and wound up passing away as a result of that. And, she was a otherwise healthy, happy 23-year-old kid, and kind of came out of nowhere, as it does. So up until that point, I hadn't ever heard about brain aneurysm, didn't know anything about it. And unfortunately got well versed in it very quickly, as did my parents and the rest of my family.
I'm sorry to hear about that, but often that is the case, that just comes out of the blue and so suddenly to people. And your sister being so young, too, is another common story and thread. So, you didn't hear anything about it until that time, and now that you've had, these years go by, you found the foundation. What do you think is most important in terms of moving forward this disease, first with prevention, on the prevention side?
Yeah, I think just awareness, the more that we've learned, awareness plays such a critical role. And, 1 in 50 people are walking around with an unruptured brain aneurysm. And I think it's critical just to get better educated on it and better well-versed and go in where you can. I also think there's a lot of wood to chop as it relates to funding for it. It's a very underfunded disease and affliction, and the ability, and just having spent time with your organization, getting to know more people, where you can test it through things like just pretty invasive blood testing. At this point, I think there's a lot of technology advancements that have been made, but access to that and then federal funding for it is not where it probably needs to be. And I think there's a lot of work to do there, but awareness is critical. Otherwise, it's so preventable if people know about it. And unfortunately for most, it's too late.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We just earlier in May had our day in the Hill on Capitol Hill, and that was another amazing time. Again, we have a legislation called Ellie's Law seeking $20 million for 5 years through a subset of NIH called NINDS to have this brain aneurysm specific research funding. And it's amazing the conversations that we do have with our, congressmen and senators. And, they're always amazed at, the fact that it is so underfunded, because it's only about $3 per person a year affected that is being spent by the federal government. So we are advocating hard for that. And, hopefully, move some research along. And the foundation's the largest private funder of brain aneurysm research. We gave out $640,000 last year to 15 different projects. We just had 88 applicants submit their requests again this year. So yeah, I mean, the research is critical, advocating, getting out there, the early detection, and just people knowing the conversations, again, just getting the word out and sharing so people do know signs and symptoms. We had a board call yesterday, and someone who had lost their daughter mentioned, because of the work that they have been doing, someone they know, just because of the education and awareness piece, actually got tested, found this unruptured aneurysm and can now get treated. So
yeah, I mean, it's like what we were told. This was almost 15 years ago now when she passed away, but it was, the doctor had said at the time, it was like getting struck by lightning. So you just, I don't go outside in thunder and lightning storms. I don't get struck by lightning, right? So, but it's not that
Right.
rare, right? And the fact, again, as you mentioned, and we've talked about in the name of the podcast, 1 in 50 people are walking around with an unruptured aneurysm is alarming, right? And the fact that it's so treatable if found, but we're not a very healthy country, and I think there's a lot of funding going towards many other things, and I think just more people shining a light on this hopefully helps.
No, definitely. And I think the other thing that has also come up when we're, talking to legislators is the rule of thumb right now is that for family members, because it can run in families, is they want to wait for 2 or more incidences for insurance to pay for it. So that's something we're trying to develop a protocol that if someone in your family has had it, why do you want to wait for the second time? And we've even been questioned on that by the legislators. So we're trying to start first in Massachusetts, just because we're based here, to work with legislatures here to develop something where if we can get it passed as a law here in Massachusetts, that only if you have one family member, then you can go to your doctor and have insurance company pay for the screening, and then hopefully roll that out. And I think, as you know, the treatments have gotten so much better, but you have to know that you have it before you can treat it.
I think that the current state of technology, where you have to get a CT scan to do it, those things are cost prohibitive in some ways. The hope for me too, in addition to that, would be so much more advancements happening on, as I mentioned, in less invasive blood testing and just real easy ability to see if you have, if you're predisposed to that or not. So I think there's just, like I said, there's a lot of wood to chop there. There's a lot of work to be done. And I think most of it is just an awareness. I mean, no one, broadly speaking, knows about these things until you're forced to know about it. And then it's unfortunately too late in many cases.
No, absolutely. So can you just talk a little bit about how this has impacted you personally and how you've sort of brought that into your professional world? Because you are talking about it, you are sharing. So what does it mean to you to, start talking about this and letting more people know and educating them?
Yeah, I mean, it had a profound impact on my life and my parents' life. I mean, my sister was my only sibling, unfortunately. And, when you lose somebody that close to you, it's life-changing. I mean, it unfortunately changed my parents' lives for the worse in a lot of ways. I mean, it's unimaginable to lose a child. As a father of 4, I couldn't fathom that. It just didn't shook their lives and changed the fabric of kind of who they are, as things like that do. I think for me, from a professional perspective and a personal perspective, it really helped me appreciate things more. I mean, when you go through some hard things, especially at a young age, I think it fundamentally changes your foundation. And I think for me, it and our family, it created more resilience and understanding of how precious time is, and not to waste it. So, and from a being willing to share it perspective, I think I have a little bit of a platform now from what I do for a living, to, especially our company being so focused on philanthropy, to be able to talk more about this openly and do more to help and shine a light on something that needs some light shine on it. But yeah, no, it changed everything about me and my parents for sure. And, as time goes by, maybe it gets a little bit easier, but it's hard even seeing my kids. They don't ever get to know her. They don't really remember her because it was so long ago when she passed away. So yeah, it's tough, but look, through every bad thing, there's a silver lining and some good that can come from it. And if Jessica's passing helps, create some more awareness. And even then in 2009, when she passed away, there was there was really a lot less known than there is today. So, my hope is that the more time that goes by, and the more attention given to this, the better treatment can be.
Things have changed quite a bit since then. And again, we tell people all the time, with the treatments being so good, we want to get ahead of these ruptures, and we want to keep families and communities whole. I mean, that's the thing, to keep people in the life that they were living at the best level that they can is just so important. So what would your advice be to, kids that are graduating college, that are just starting out in the work world? And again, it is hard, right? We're definitely a little bit beyond just coming out of college and you think you're invincible. And certainly me, my years here, I've been exposed to so much tragedy and sadness and seen people's lives forever change. But I have been inspired by how people do turn that around and try to make it something positive and give back. But, how do you think we can reach the younger generation of people starting out, to encourage them to, be part of something and to, share their experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately, look, my sister was a senior in college when this happened to her, right? So like that's, I think, yeah, when you're young, you feel invincible and you have the whole world ahead of you, which is true for the most part, but you never know when things can change quickly. And I think it's just not taking things for granted and being appreciative of the life you've been given, and, your family, and spending time with the people and the things that matter. And then I think we're only on this earth for a short period of time in relative terms. And, the more impact and the more good you can do to help change other people's lives that maybe not are as fortunate as you, I think is what we're here for. And I think the earlier, many people in my family were forced to learn it. You go through hardship, as you mentioned, it changes you, but I think it's a decision that everybody can and should make. And, the more impact and good you can do, the better. And we've started our kids early on, giving back and getting involved in philanthropic organizations. And I think it makes you better people. And from somebody that hires people coming out of college, I think it makes people more well-rounded. And we always look for that. So I think there's a personal and a professional advantage to it as well. In addition to just doing the right thing.
No, I totally agree. Just so we're kind of wrapping up again, I think the key takeaways always for me is that this is a treatable disease. The treatments keep getting better, but we just have to do more as a community and a society to talk about it, to share the awareness, and to try to educate people. So what would you want the biggest takeaway for anyone listening this to be in terms of the disease and moving forward?
I think that, as anybody thinks about philanthropy and giving back, whether it's Brain Aneurysm Foundation or anything else, I think too many people don't think they can make a difference because it's just an individual, but I think every individual makes a difference. So I think hopefully anybody listening to this should realize that any amount of time, any amount of money given to it, any amount of light shined on this makes a big difference and an impact. And I think if you get enough people thinking that way, then a movement happens, right? So I think that every individual step that a single person makes a big difference, even though you might not think it does. It certainly does. And then just awareness and education, looking into this and learning about what is an aneurysm, how does it happen, why does it happen, is it genetic to the point you made earlier, should I be tested, how do I get tested, how do I give back? I was bummed that I couldn't be, and I'm sorry, on Capitol Hill with you all, but hopefully next year I can. I'd love to have hopefully a greater platform to do that. But I think everybody has a platform in their own way, and just asking questions and getting smarter about it is helpful.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Taking the time to do something, like give back, taking the time to do anything, helps.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. It's everyone. You feel much better. I mean, I was in the private sector, and, coming into this world, it's so much better to be making that impact and making a difference and helping. And there's always more you can do. And for this disease, there's still so much more to be accomplished. But again, I want to thank you for always, being willing to share, for helping to educate and raise awareness. And thank you to Kendra Scott for including us in the Give Back programs, because like you said, everything makes a difference, and you connect with different people in different ways, right? All it takes is one connection to really, bring somebody in closer who just didn't really know that the organization might exist, just didn't know about the disease. So, for me, it's always those one connections. You never know what difference that might make to somebody.
Totally. Well, I appreciate you helping me have a platform here, and Christine, and being a part of the organization is meaningful to not just me, but also the rest of my family. So thank you.